Huge news, everybody. Donald Trump just released a flurry, a sequence of extremely powerful bullish statements. And now we finally have confirmation he is literally fulfilling and following through on all of the promises he made us. We are heading so much higher, and right now is literally the most crucial moment to not get shaken out and to stay believing, stay bullish. But more importantly, one would ask or say is where we place our bets to make the most out of this generationally transformative time in history and definitely in our lifetimes. Hi, my name is Jessica, and in today's video, this is what we go through. So if it sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe and let us get started. All right, first thing is first, if you check out the chart here on Bitcoin, you will see that we're crowding. We've been pumping back up to $105 Bitcoin. So this is extremely strong and extremely bullish for all of us. And if we take a look at the Bitcoin ETFs and how much value has been driving into them, we would see that yesterday, end of business day, we ended the day with $188.7 million of value pouring into the Bitcoin ETFs across the major funds. So this is huge. And as we can see here by Senator Cynthia Lummis, who's been a major champion for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, she says, I told you this was the year for Bitcoin and digital assets. Next, in terms of who else and what other major players in the world and in the financial markets are starting to allocate more money in huge amounts towards Bitcoin, we have Selmer Scientific. As you can see here on my screen, they're actually an incredible company in early disease detection. So this is incredible. Next, we have Fathom Realty, a fairly large real estate group based out of California, I believe. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's correct. Anyway, they're placing up to 50% of their excess cash or holdings into Bitcoin. So this is enormous. And once again, we know this is going to affect all of the families that are connected and investing through, purchasing through, or working through Fathom Realty. So this is tremendous news, guys. And then we also have Morgan Stanley with their CEO saying that they are, let me just read it for you. Morgan Stanley's CEO just confirmed plans to work with the Treasury on safer crypto transactions. Here's the takeaway. TradFi is leaning in because they know the future isn't fiat only. So that's the actual truth, right? But safer, as you can read here on the screen, often means stricter oversight. So according to Crypto Town Hall, they say we can expect more rails and less freedom. So I'm not going to disagree with this, but the point is some of this is inevitable, especially as it relates to traditional finance. There's room for different types of business. And we know that DeFi, or decentralized finance, which is at the heartbeat of crypto and Bitcoin, by nature is uncensored. This is why we've seen, the likes of, for instance, Ross Ulbricht being released from jail because he created a decentralized trading marketplace, right? And there was a lot of illegal activity happening on there, but it was decentralized. No one owned it, right? So there's room for decentralization and decentralized finance, but there's also Web 2, or the traditional world, which often caters to more conservative families or family funds that don't want to risk with anything, slightly illegal or connected to anything illegal or anything that could ever be misclassified. Just more traditional conservative finance, put it that way. And that would be called TradFi, right? So the fact that they're going to be making it safer, for their clients to invest in crypto or move, as they put it, move closer to crypto, I don't find that shocking in any way. And we always have the option to opt out, which really crypto being introduced to Morgan Stanley's clients in many ways gives them that exposure to decentralized finance. It's going to open their eyes in any case or spark their interest. So who knows, there may be several families or individuals that decide to enter into decentralized finance once they're exposed to crypto. So it does benefit them even if initially it is safer and more controlled, because once again, this is a world full of options and people should be allowed to choose. So I don't see this as entirely negative. It's more just so news. And if anything, it's good that these traditional finance individuals are now being exposed to crypto, right? So that's my takeaway. Anyway, some more exciting news, and this really speaks of the general markets, especially the whales, right? Or people that are more experienced in crypto OGs, and how optimistic they're feeling about Bitcoin, because you can see here by Marty Party, he shares, this chart. If you're looking at my screen, you can see it, but it basically shows that large sell walls, right? Or sell orders are now positioned at the $120,000 range for Bitcoin across Binance and Coinbase. So this is really good. Ultimately, this speaks of how the general trading public on these major exchanges now believe and feel confident all together in unison, believing that the new higher highs Bitcoin is going to be testing is $120,000 for Bitcoin. So this is very, very bullish, guys. And then next we have this here by Fox Business journalist and producer Eleanor Terrett, and she reads the following. Let me read this out to you. She says, because you know that Donald Trump, I'll share this with you in a minute, but he gave an executive order basically to make America the capital of crypto, right? And this is what this involves. As Donald Trump just signed, the executive order establishes the Presidential Working Group on Digital Asset Markets to strengthen the U.S. leadership in digital finance. 2, the working group will be tasked with developing a federal regulatory framework governing digital assets, including stablecoins, and evaluating the creation of a strategic national digital asset stockpile. 3, the working group will be chaired by the White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, which if you saw the news, you saw he was the one to hand the executive order to Donald Trump to sign, and includes the Secretary of the Treasury, the Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the heads of other relevant departments and agencies. 4, the White House AI crypto czar will engage leading experts in digital assets and digital markets to ensure that the actions of the working group are informed by expertise beyond the federal government. This is awesome. This is the beginning of a new day now, because the federal government doesn't hold within its body necessarily people who are equipped and educated and experienced in all the different sectors they govern, right? This is why lobbying offices lobby them, pay them to help pass regulation. And oftentimes the information these different leaders of the government get is often biased, because it's coming in from people who want them to pass legislation which will benefit their businesses, right? So the simple fact that we now have a crypto and AI czar who at his core, I believe, even though I don't know David Sachs, I believe he's of a benevolent nature, just because I've listened to him speak for well over, I think, almost a year now. And at the heart of what I hear all the time is that he just wants to help the US economy in general when it comes to crypto and AI. So he's an investor, right? And investors in general are incentivized by growing the economy. And his closest friends are all people like Chamath Palihapitiya, or what is his name? The king of quinoa. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent now, so I'll stop. But all of his friends, and we know we're defined in large part by who our friends are, because they say you do become the average of the 5 people you spend time with. So anyway, long story short, I'm happy that someone like David Sachs is in charge and is going to be bringing in the right people to help shape the decisions he'll be petitioning from the president. So anyway, moving on, the next point or element in this executive order prohibits agencies from undertaking any action to establish, issue, or promote central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. We spoke about this more in yesterday's video if you want to go check it out. Next, the executive order revokes the previous administration's digital assets executive order and the Treasury Department's framework for international engagement on digital assets, with which suppressed innovation and undermined U.S. economic liberty and global leadership in digital finance. So that was loaded and so awesome, and I'm so happy Eleanor Terrett shared this. Next, shifting gears a little bit to start talking about the way the U.S. economy is doing. We would know that, let me just read what is on the screen here. And this was also part of Trump's extensive speeches he's been giving in the last couple days. And this is what he said in one of his speeches. He said, "I would like to see interest rates come down a lot. That said, from the Kobesi letters, honing in on this some more, they say the Fed's worst nightmare just got worse. All three major metrics of inflation in the US are rising, and rate hikes recently became more likely. Meanwhile, President Trump just stated that he will demand that interest rates drop immediately. So we have a tug of war, right? Like all the metrics coming in for the, insofar as the Fed's concerned, that would guide the Fed's decisions are insinuating or recommending that interest rates be increased. Meanwhile, we now have the head of the country, Donald Trump, saying he wants the rates to drop, right? So what is the Fed going to do now? If we keep reading, the second point that the Kobesi letter makes is that it's clear that inflation is hot, even with the unexpected drop in core CPI to 3.2%. 1 month annualized core PCE inflation is at 3.5%, and core CPI is 120 points above the Fed's target. So the 1 and 3 month and 6 month annualized core PCE inflation are rising. And when the Fed pivoted in September of 2024, they noted that the labor market was weakening. They felt inflation was falling to 2% and the labor market needed support. Instead, inflation is now rising, and the December jobs report crushed expectations. Employment is down to 4.1%. Meanwhile, the ISM service price pay data is coming in hot. This is considered a leading indicator for PCE inflation and the Fed's preferred inflation metric. We now have PCE rising again as prices paid rebound, and this should also put PCE above 3%. 2% inflation is distant now. Next, the Fed still felt like they had everything under control. They just needed to pause rate cuts. Bond markets were already trading as if rate hikes returned, helping right in financial conditions. This led yields on 10-year rates to their highest against 2-year rates since 2022. Also, the liquidity market remained fairly unfazed, even with the rapid spike in yields, even as the 10-year note yield neared 5% and the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ kept pushing higher. The Fed could become less dovish without worrying about markets as much. This gave the Fed some relief. And then we bought the dip, right? They go on to say that we bought the dip and the S&PX into 2025 along with our premium members. As alerted below, our members just cashed in 200 points in week 1. Identifying this trend early in 2024 was extremely profitable for us, etc., etc. So now the Fed is dealing with another major hurdle. President Trump is calling on the Fed to cut rates as inflation rebounds. His plan is that lower oil prices will help offset the effects of lower interest rates on inflation. Will this actually work? Who knows? But they go on to say that since inauguration, oil prices have traded lower on his promises of higher production. Offsetting the effects of lower rates would require vastly lower prices, if even possible. So we'll see if oil prices come down or do not. I know he called for it or made a comment in it in his World Economic Forum speech he gave to Davos. I was watching it this morning. So he said he was a little shocked to hear that prices hadn't gone down already. So it was like, his indirect way of saying like, hey, you should drop them. So they probably will, but who knows if it's going to be enough to offset or discourage the Fed from increasing interest rates. And then of course, we know Donald Trump is a businessman and really good at negotiating. So he may be having a conversation with the Fed behind the scenes, very likely. So we'll see what actually happens, guys. But I'm just letting you know and keeping you in the loop of what's going on and what we can expect and what these dialogues are behind the scenes. And then as Walter Bloomberg here points out, right, that also U.S. job claims from unemployment are up above 6,000, up to 223,000 between January 18th week, like during that week. That's what was reported. So, and it looks like January 11th week is continuing to bring in more claims. Yeah, we'll see what the ultimate data is on jobless claims. Right? And then next, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, letting you know what's going on in the market so that you know, right? It's so important to know. Apparently, in surveying the people, this is a survey by consumers. Apparently, the general public or whoever was surveyed feels like buying homes conditions have collapsed to levels never seen in the last 65 years. Keep in mind that this data comes in before Donald Trump has been able to do anything. So this is just the condition of the market market that Donald Trump is inheriting. So now let's see how he helps improve these conditions. We know that he is acting on everything extremely fast, as I was saying in my intro. And one of these promises he's fulfilling to all of us is the SAB 121 staffing accounting bulletin was rescinded or was revoked. So this is extremely positive, because even though it technically was this sort of like fair bill, and I don't know it in great detail, although I have read about it several times, it was a bill that was supposed to make things like safer, right? And make companies more accountable to the government and having to file if they hold any Bitcoin or digital assets. Now, the problem with the bill, and why you'll see in a second, Cynthia Loomis says bye-bye to it. No, sorry, Hester Pierce right here says bye-bye SAB 121. It's not been fun. And then we have Senator Loomis saying over here that it was disastrous for the banking industry and only stunted American innovation and advancement of digital assets. The reason for this is that the bill required companies to put any digital assets under the liabilities sector of their accounting spreadsheets, which marked it as a liability, so not favorable, and therefore discouraged, as Cynthia Loomis puts it here, companies from engaging with crypto assets, right? Because they saw it as like a risky asset that would be seen negatively on their balance sheets. And this is in large part positive, right? So this is great, and we're going to celebrate for the time being, because even though laws sometimes come across as protecting the people, oftentimes the way they're actually applied is negative. And that apparently was the case for SAB 121, which is now no longer in effect. So this is wonderful. However, shifting gears, guys, and this is one of those videos for you today that's just very real, not one way or the other. I'm always positive on the market ultimately, but sometimes the facts are the facts, right? And right now, according to Polymarket, the general public that is participating on Polymarket, which tells me more than anything, it's a very short-sighted, now type of people on Polymarket, they now believe that Trump will create a Bitcoin reserve in his first 100 days only by a 22% chance, which is ludicrous to me, because to me, for so many reasons that I share in all of my videos, basically every single day this week, definitely, and in the past, I've explained so many reasons as to why it just makes sense for Donald Trump, even just from a strictly business standpoint, and definitely now as the leader of the US, it makes so many there's so many reasons as to why it makes sense for him to implement his Bitcoin strategic reserve. It just takes time, that's all, and people get impatient. So I wouldn't listen to this. But this, if anything, is good to look at, because it shows us the nature of the people actually voting. But you can see that it's just so funny. Polymarket, the same Polymarket chart you saw a moment ago, was extremely bullish right after Senator Loomis was appointed to the Senate subcommittee on digital assets. The U.S. National Bitcoin Reserve being approved in 2025 was up to 68%. So it just shows you how fickle or uncertain sometimes these polls can be, and how easily they react to news, put it that way. That said, if we listen to this, you'll hear this is by Alex Jones, fantastic thought leader and voice of America and the people. I'm so glad they stopped harassing him. Poor thing, they were trying to take his studio away and all these things. Was crazy. But I believe it's now come to an end, so I'm happy about this, because we do need more voices of the people, which I'm trying to be more and more, but he is full outright a voice of the people, so I definitely encourage you follow him. He's a character, but oftentimes to be heard, you are this robust human, I'm more on the calm side, but I can't help it. It's just the way I speak, even if I'm mad. Anyway, so this is what he has to share with us. I'm going to play it for you.
World capital of artificial intelligence, and make the United States a manufacturing superpower, and the world capital of artificial intelligence and crypto. Make the United States a manufacturing.
You heard it. It's actually a fantastic talk. You can just play it as you're doing other work or making breakfast or dinner. I would encourage you to go watch Donald Trump's speech to the World Economic Forum in Davos. It's a loaded statement. He doesn't go on and on and off about random topics. I'm not saying that he does, but sometimes he gets carried away. It's like bullet points, right? And he just like spits out like his agenda in a very concise way to the world. And he talks about like the Russian-Ukraine war, AI manufacturing, you know, excessive red tape, oil prices. And he basically declares to the world that America is now free and America will be and resume its leadership as the technology and manufacturing capital of the world, etc., etc. So amazing talk. That said, guys, may I have a little bit of my coffee? This tweet is really, really good and very loaded. We'll read it right now together. It's by Aporia, which I also referenced in yesterday's video. Great account. And they go into explaining the difference, which I'll read out to you right now, between what people think altcoin season is versus what it actually is. So Aporia says, what people think altcoin season is, they think it's a market phase where approximately 95% of altcoins significantly outperform BTC while Bitcoin itself shifts trend. 2, they think it's a mechanical rotation, meaning it's just automatic, right? They believe capital will automatically flow from large caps into small caps. 3, they believe there will be this universal pump, that nearly all altcoins will pump or surge regardless of fundamental or market conditions. Next, they have this passive strategy, right? Where participants only need to hold existing altcoin bags and expecting automatic gains as money rotates downwards, right? Or into the smaller caps. What altcoin season really is, okay, pay attention. It's a seasonal, cyclical window, often in Q1, which we are now all in, of a bull market, where altcoins have a higher probability of outperforming Bitcoin, though not necessarily, not universally. So probabilistic, a subset of alts may surge, driven mainly by narratives. So this is what most likely will happen, right? Yes, I will agree with the earlier statement that pretty much everything is going to pump. I do believe that's going to happen, but not all equally. It's going to come down to which ones are literally technologically fundamentally real and going to have a huge impact on the world, and usually the ones that have the first movers advantage of bringing something truly unique and different to the world with a strong marketing team. And they're going to be driven by narratives, meaning in terms of what's in right now, which I've been saying again and again in my last videos, which is AI agents, specific meme coins, and specific stable coins across chains that are the fastest and can allow everyone trading in the market to do so the fastest, most effectively, and the cheapest, right? So like Solana, Sui, for instance, based AI, right? Next, there is a risk reward asymmetry. Alts exhibit higher up capture with limited down capture, even if Bitcoin corrects. This is true. And active selection. Success depends on identifying trends of projects rather than passive holding. This is so true. And alt season isn't extinct. It's Darwinian. Adapt or exit the food chain. This is so on point. So on point. You have to be plugged in and watching the market. Otherwise, only invest. Like if you're not going to be watching the market every day, only invest in Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, and maybe Sui, and maybe Doge, but less Doge, but maybe just because now we have the government, the Department of Government Efficiency, which is Doge abbreviated, and then we have Doge being pumped by Elon, right? He even screamed out Doge at the speech he was allowed to give at the inauguration. So moving on and talking about AI, as I just pointed out a moment ago, this is by Cigar on Twitter X, and they say, OpenAI is building AI agents. Anthropic is building AI agents. Google is building AI agents. And Meta is building AI agents. China is building AI agents. AI agents will be everywhere by the end of the year, guys. Please listen to this like loud and clear. Permissionless blockchains can be the financial rails for agents that interact with money. It'll be fascinating to see if our space can create crypto AI frameworks that go mainstream. I remain optimistic that we will, and so do I. Next by Sammy here, Sammy ETH on X. They say OpenAI is doing its first AI agent launch, and the crypto market is concerned we've topped at a $20 billion market cap. Crypto enables agents to operate fully autonomously. 2025 is just the beginning of the agentic future. And then they say, Shit, it's about to get wild. Excuse my language, but I couldn't agree more. That said, just some alpha for you guys. Be careful. Don't put any more money into this other than that which you can afford to lose. That said, I only bring it to you because I've vetted it and for the reasons I'll share right now. But the token I'm sharing with you today, crypto AI agent token, is by Creator, where you can tokenize your AI agents in under 1 minute. You can check them out at creator.bid/agents. And why it's so hot, I will share with you now, is because they sold out in 3 minutes. Okay, this was yesterday, and this is a tweet by them. They say, well, that was fast. The bid public launch has officially closed, and we're now gearing up for trading to begin in just a few hours before the token generation event TGE. We have one final announcement to share that you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. Then basically you're going to want to just go follow them, guys. So you have to do your own research. Go follow people and make it a point to read up on their news, especially if you're going to invest in them. And what they're doing is that basically because so many of their loyal community members were not able to participate or get in, now they're offering an opportunity for everyone until the end of the month. I'll zoom in on it here to basically lock their AI agents, and this will earn them a certain amount of creator points, and you can go read more about it on their X account. This is just some stats for you on how they're doing so far on Dune. They had 4,256 agents created. Their market cap is sitting at 78 million, etc., etc., etc. So doing good all in all. And then this is how they're doing, right? And you can buy them. There's 2 pairs. There's the ticker is bid, right? And they have it on BNB, which you can buy on PancakeSwap, or on Aerodome, which is a new DEX. And in both case scenarios, you can see we are experiencing a correction since launch. See on both charts. And this is good. This is when you actually want to buy in. You don't want to buy unless you're very, very lucky and very, very fast and you can outrun the bot. Typically, what most smart investors would do is they would buy it after the first correction. So as you can see here, this would be considered a good time to buy if you're going to buy. But that said, guys, go check it out if you're interested. We have now reached the end of this video and videos for this week. I will be back again on Monday. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below or other topics you would like me to cover. And yes, I'll be coming to you with updates on Based AI soon as well, since I am also holding a decent amount of decent bags. But that said, anyway, guys, I love you very much. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay ready. And I will be back here on Monday. Bye, guys.